Let's take a look at the footy. And MCG last night, this was a great match to be at. It really was. This just smacked of a classic preliminary final.
These are the big moments. Tom Stewart is a big game player. Have a look at that. Just has to nail that tackle and does. And they go back down the other end. Jeremy Cameron, sharp handball here. Henry puts them up, and he played a really good last quarter.
Fourth goal.
Henry, yeah, fourth goal. He was really good. Then they go forward. Charlie Cameron puts his head over the football, gets the knock. And what about that man, Archie? Every time they've needed something this year, Archie has delivered. And what about this for a left foot? This is Ackermanis-like. So he had a quiet first half, left foot, 55 out, goes through on the full. He arrived in the second half last night. A big rundown tackle. The handball might have been on, but the Brisbane Lions go through. And this was the last little bit. I don't think they could have won it anyway with 30 seconds to go, but Reece, you've got to kick them.
We have seen teams do that before. Will you stop yelling, by the way?
And there's the final siren. Look at it. I mean, coming from outside the top four to do what they have done to get themselves in this position when they were challenged throughout the year. It's a big story for Brisbane. I thought all of their small forwards rocked up and had a big influence on it. And I think there's been some criticism over a little bit of selfishness at times from this Brisbane forward group. I thought on the night there were a number of examples where they didn't do that and putting their team... Like Joe historically would have a ping from 55. For him to lower the eyes or shift the eyes and find a teammate there, I thought that was a really good sign for them. And then you look at this. This is just absolute brilliance. He could easily roll and have a shot from 50 to an open goal square. How clever is that kick? So to put themselves in better positions to shoot. Now he goes back and kicks that goal, Archie. And this one, the sub comes on. He could have had a snap, but he doesn't. He centres the ball. So I thought there were some really good signs in terms of putting teammates in better positions when their accuracy and having shots from unrealistic positions has been a real issue for them.
And coming back from 25 points down last night, 44 points the previous week, and they're going into the season having doubts about themselves in these big moments, TJ. They've had a perfect preparation when it's all said and done, and losing only rounds 22 and 23, 9 wins prior to that, wins since it, and they are the form team.
So is it the perfect preparation, or is Sydney's the perfect preparation?
What do you think?
Well, I think now Sydney have got through the prelim. I think I'd rather that preparation than the Brisbane Lions.
Now, I know we don't like to relay conversations we have off air, but this morning I said to Kano, mate, I don't think you should have a volcano because the football's been so good. And Kane said, it's my brand. Anyway, let's brand him. It is time for the volcano.
Well, the volcano's for Paul Marsh this morning. Now, what we saw with Oscar McInerney last night, he's going to go down in finals folklore as one of the most courageous things that I've ever seen. He was dominant in the ruck. They were 12-6 clearances up when this happened. So look how graphic this is, where his shoulder is out. I can't imagine what this feels like. For anyone that's done it, you just see the pain. Until that shoulder goes back in, you're in all sorts of trouble. Now, he comes back onto the ground and it pops out again. This is exactly what he should have done, mind you. To strap it up, to get back out there, to help his team win through to a grand final is exactly what he should have done. But when Paul Marsh is on a campaign and a rampage all about player safety, he's going to have to approach the club and question the club as to why they put their player back on and risk this and risk him missing a grand final. This is football. Sometimes when you're injured, you go back on the ground and you play. That's exactly what McInerney did last night. There should be no questions to ask for Brisbane in terms of the way that they manage that. But Paul's going to have to ring around like he has and speak to the media and get to the bottom of how Brisbane have put their player back on with the risk that they've taken that he'll miss a grand final. And it just shouldn't be that way.
In the lead up to this game on Wednesday night, I spoke about with Dane Zorko. He's a threat, but there's also an opportunity on him. And here's Dane Zorko early in the game on Henry. So this is how loose he can be, Dane Zorko. So he had 34 possessions. He was wonderful in the end. I thought he was instrumental in the second half. But this is how aggressive he is. So this is a centre bounce. Zorko's gone charging, and he's just leaving his forward there in Sean Manor. Now there's that goal kicked on him in this situation. So it's going to be an intriguing grand final, whether it's a Papley or a Hayward, whoever he gets. So here he is. He's forward on Brad Close. Brad Close is involved. So I thought Zorko had a really, really poor first half and an outstanding second half. So I think what finals do, they highlight your strengths and your weaknesses. That was another handball out there by Dane Zorko. So the strengths of Zorko are wonderful, but his weaknesses, in my opinion, are being shown up in finals at the moment.
Story last week.
It was exactly the same. So he's good is good, but he's bad is bad as well in finals time, Kane. So be intriguing.
Yeah, I reckon that's a good point, because if they had have lost, it would have been a big story, Dane Zorko. But what was great was Chris Fagan's coaching. I thought he got Chris Scott, and I say he's the best coach in football, and he is. But their ability, particularly in the third quarter, to go through the corridor. 111 marks Brisbane have taken in this game. Keep Brisbane to under 100 marks, you win. In wet conditions, Brisbane's ability to go through the corridor, like they're asleep. These Geelong players, this ball sits up for ages. I mean, AFL players can run 20 metres in 3 seconds. But they've got to intercept that ball, and they just cut them up repeatedly, particularly in the third quarter through the middle of the ground. So I couldn't believe that Chris Scott in the coach's box wasn't able to shut down Brisbane's corridor use, which really led to that. I know that was touch, but that could have been another goal that has cost them. Look at this, straight through the middle of the ground. They just open them up like you wouldn't believe. Like, this is almost vision that you see in pre-season where there's not that pressure. I thought Geelong were asleep, and any time you let talented players do this, look at Stengel, hands on head going, how can you not get that ball? How can they not be switched on to shut that corridor ball use down in a wet game at the MCG where Brisbane's strength is their uncontested mark? So I thought Chris Fagan had an excellent night in the coach's box. I thought the matchup with Leicester on Cameron was terrific, and he should get the credit that he deserves, Chris Fagan, for his coaching last night.
Well, you posed the question a moment ago about the contrast in preparation for these two teams. We saw that the Lions had the round 24 win against Essendon, then the hard games against Carlton, GWS and Geelong. Contrasting that with West Coast being the Geelong's opponent round 24, 100-point win basically, week off, 84-point win in a prelim final. Chris Fagan actually posed this very question himself.
If you look at their last game of the season against the West Coast, they were 100 points in front at half-time. It was a low pressure, low contested game. Then they have a week off, and then they play Port in a final where it was a similar sort of game, low pressure, low contest game. Then they have another week off, and I just felt like it's good to have the time off, but you need the games that you play to be really hard, tough games. And maybe at the end that showed our harder preparation enabled us to run the game out. And I would have thought that would have been a real challenge. I wasn't there, but I would have thought that would be a real challenge for Geelong coming into this week.
I think it might have been something in that. It's certainly worth studying since they've had that bye after round 24 after the 2015 season. Now, we would have been dealing with a massive match review office / tribunal / appeals tribunal situation during this week if Geelong won this game, because this tackle in the third quarter of Paddy Dangerfield on Hugh McCluggage. Now, a free kick was awarded against Dangerfield there for a dangerous tackle. You can all have your own judgments and views on it. We've seen players suspended for that.
As soon as he gets the whistle, though, he's straight up Damo. So Hugh McCluggage, for me, he exaggerated the contact. I don't think there was any contact with his head at all. I'd be looking at Hugh McCluggage as going, almost a fine. He jumped straight back up as soon as he heard the whistle. You cannot rub out Patrick.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Can we have a look again?
Yeah, I'm not. In fact, I do agree with you, Brownie. But I'm just telling you, if this was a grand final, this would have been the story of the week. And they've avoided or dodged the bullet, I should say, in what they do with this decision now, because it could go either way. And we've seen players suspended for that type of tackle.
Davo, you're right. That's the point. We've seen players suspended for tackles like that, but that's the problem that the AFL have created. There is room in this game just for a free kick. For me, that's just a free kick and nothing more to see. You cannot have a player miss a grand final for that. But unfortunately, because the AFL have rubbed players out for similar tackles before, that's the problem that they've created.
I think you're a bit harsh on McCluggage there, to be honest.
As soon as he heard the whistle, he knew it was his free kick. He grabbed his head and straight back up. He was trying to be smart to get the ball. He understood what was happening, but...
But you reckon he should be fined for staging that?
You're telling me, did that hurt him? Did that hit him in the head? He held his hands above his head, and then as soon as the whistle, he got straight up.
He should be fined.
Well, players have got to stop doing that. Players have got to stop playing for free kicks in tackles. That is dangerous for other players.
Lordo, did McCluggage stage that?
Sometimes you can just have a reaction where he does hit his head. So the other argument in that is, doesn't mean if he gets concussed there, he's gone for 3 weeks. So still, that would have been looked at heavily. I still think Dangerfield could go, despite that McCluggage has got up and played on.
Do you think he'd go if Geelong had won the game and were through to a grand final?
No, probably not.
No, probably not. A couple of years ago, Max Holmes was the hard luck story of Geelong.
He was, and he was going to be again. And I wonder if this cost them the game. Because should they have just made the hard call on Max Holmes, and because I reckon for 20 minutes they were short a player.
Yeah.
That's
you see the time on the clock. It had been going on for some time. Then came back on late in the third quarter and started the last quarter, and then the decision was made.
His run was the only thing hurting Brisbane through the midfield too.
But I just think that if you could see in his face, and he was shaking his head. He'd do a run through and he'd put his arms out and go, "I don't think I'm right." I think Mitch Duncan should have been on earlier.
In that moment, though, I can fully understand what they were dealing with for him and them as a club.
But not about him. It's not about him.
Well, I feel it is in that moment. He missed the grand final win in 2022 because of a hamstring in a preliminary final.
But now the whole team's missing a grand final.
I can understand why they're trying to wade through all that, though.
Yeah, I think you get him off and go, let's just see what happens during the week, but they have to do it on what the team needs.
This is the problem with the sub, isn't it, Lord? Which you've been critical of. If you've got 5 on the bench, you just get him off. You assess him, get the player on. You're not worrying about, well, if we sub him out, we can't put him back on there. This is why the sub rule is a joke and will change, you would think, at the end of the year.
This is the way the Brisbane Lions got there, with a very, very hard-fought, pulsating 10-point win over the Geelong Football Club in front of more than 93,000 fans at the MCG. And joining us via link now from Brisbane, a man that has had very, very little sleep, I might add, is Cam Rayner. G'day, Cam.
G'day, fellas. How we going?
Well, take us through the timetable post-midnight. Well, what time did you get the plane to go back home? What time did you land? And what time did you actually get to sleep?
Yeah, it's just straight away after the game. I think we had about an hour in the change rooms, got on the bus, straight to the airport, straight in the plane, and touchdown at about 1 o'clock. And obviously fiddling around a few things and probably got to sleep at about 2, but still feeling pretty good, pretty happy and excited for the week to come.
Talk to us about the second half. Kane just showed some highlights before about your coach who changed a few things in that second half tactically. What did he do at half-time which got you going? Yeah,
I think that's probably one of Fags' his best strengths. He's built the ability now to adapt, and we know what he wants, and we helped him out as well. And just changing the ball movement against Geelong, they're so good at getting their numbers behind the ball, so just trying to open the ground up and use the whole of the MCG. And I felt like we really started to get our ball movement through the middle, which troubled them, and obviously it got us over the line in the end.
Cam, just on Chris Fagan, I've heard a lot of players speak about this, that mid-season when you weren't travelling well, Chris spoke about the stats and the numbers, how well you were travelling. It seems like it's coming in so many players' interviews of what that did for you and the confidence of the team.
Yeah, definitely. It gives you a lot of confidence, but that's just the way Fags is. He always looks for the positives, and he doesn't really want to lie to you about anything. He just wants to tell you the straight facts, and we just had to back him in and believe him, and we knew that if we kept doing what we were doing, it was going to turn. But he instills a lot of confidence in all of his players, and everyone talks about how much we love playing for him, but you really do, and it's so exciting, and it's awesome to see him so happy. But we just want to get one more for him this weekend, which would be unbelievable.
I really want to talk about you, Cam. I just think All-Australian squad of 44. You went through a patch where you're as devastating a player as there is in football, but it was tough for you last week, and it was really tough for you in the first half with 4 at half-time last night. For you to come out and do what you did in the third quarter with 11 touches and essentially be the match winner or one of the match winners, I'm wondering how mentally you've been challenged, and how, if this was 2 years ago, whether you would have had that response that you had last night.
Yeah, you're probably right, to be honest. I think it's probably one of the things that I've worked on the most, and it's been spoken that Trent Cotchin's been at the footy club, and I've done a lot of work with him and being able to impact moments. And even last week I probably didn't have as many disposals as I would have liked, but I felt like I had a lot of moments in the last half where I made a contest or just put the body on the line to make it easy for my teammates. So being able to impact the game without the ball is something that I really want to work on. But then obviously having the opportunity to impact it on with the ball was something I was really happy with. And it's probably come down to the ability to be able to run out games now, which I probably wouldn't be able to used to do. So to be able to have impact later in the game is what I've been working on.
Cam, the jubilation of the comeback, the excitement of the win, it was tempered somewhat though, wasn't it, with the news and the revelation that Oscar McInerney will not be part of the next week's grand final. How are you going with it? How's he going with it? What has been said to him, and how's Darcy Fort going to go?
Are you throwing in a little pick-up line for me to say Darcy's playing next week, eh?
trying to get that out of you as confirmation. But
it's too good for you,
leave that part of it. But how shattering is it, mate? I mean, obviously you've been on this journey together as a group, and he's been a key member of it. And then I don't know whether you got return vision, but we're just seeing it again how sore he was in the first quarter, and the pain that he was in, and the courage to battle through it, to come back on, and then to do it again.
Yeah, it's obviously very disappointing, and I think I came on both times for Oscar when he come off, and to see the pain in his face was terrible. And the thing that with Oscar is he's just going to keep going back out there, and he did it twice when there's probably not many people on the ground that would have done that, but you just feel for him because he does so much for this footy club and he means so much to us. And it's hard with him because he won't want to show anyone that he's in a bit of pain or is feeling uncomfortable, but we'll do a great job of rallying around him. We love him, and we'll make sure that we go out this weekend and try and get the result for him as well.
Hey, Cam, can I just ask you, just before we let you go, much is going to be made about the heritage of both of these grand final teams, South Melbourne and Fitzroy. And I love the fact that you guys, when you run out training, you've got the tops on with Fitzroy emblazoned across them. You're very conscious of that heritage and staying true to that Fitzroy heritage, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's a major part of our history as a footy club, and every time we come down to Victoria and spend time in Melbourne, we try to get out to Fitzroy for our family days and spend time with the fans down in Melbourne. And I guess when we're going through that rough patch as a club, we didn't get many games in Melbourne, so to be able now for the last couple of years, be able to come down here and play finals and share the enjoyment with our fans, and they were unbelievable yesterday. It sounded like the whole MCG was full of Lions supporters, and I can bank on them being again there next week. We've got such a great support crew in Brisbane and in Fitzroy, and hopefully they can all come together this weekend and we can celebrate with them.
Fantastic. Bring it on. It's going to be a magnificent grand final. You're down on Wednesday, the team, so a couple of days to just get the feel of Melbourne and soak up that Fitzroy heritage. So, mate, it's been great to catch up with you, and we appreciate the fact you've only had a few hours sleep, but we do have some prizes for you as a result of our thank yous.
Absolutely, we do, TJ. So, Cam, you're off to Gumbaya World, where water slides, thrill rides and wildlife collide. Unlimited access with a family pass to the team and the Quackers at Gumbaya World. One pair of mini J-Buds thanks to J-Lab. They're true wireless and pack over 5 hours of playtime. You can see them there. Clutching code, best dressed on the golf course with a quarter zip top and plants from Clutch and Co. I'll get that out because I was thinking about Be Close, because we're going to kit you out in Cat Star, Brad Close's clothing brand. Be Close, your swing, your style. The box of Tour Chrome golf balls thanks to Callaway. And let's go to the Travis Matthews, because there's another 2 hats for you and the playing group thanks to Travis Matthews. True Linkswear, you can see the shoes there. They're so good that you want to wear them everywhere. Check it out, truelinkswear.com.au. The bar fridge right there, custom design your own bar fridge. The Aquillas, which we all wear, premium quality since 1958. Cookie Box, Melbourne's finest artisan cookie shop. Treat yourself to a special delivery thanks to Cookie Box. And when you're in Melbourne on Wednesday, go down to Platform 28 because it's the best pub in Docklands. Tell them Lordo sent you. A pair of Rick's eyewear that inspires confidence. rickseyewear.com.au, and elevate your wardrobe with the latest street style from St. Goliath.
Terrific stuff. Cam, thanks for joining us. We'll see you down here in a few days.
Thanks very much, guys. Awesome. Looking forward to it.